Welcome to the English Effect. Today, we're jumping right into an explainer on something that honestly frustrates almost every English learner. We are unlocking the mystery of fast, connected speech in movies, TV shows, and everyday conversations. So if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed trying to keep up with native speakers, well, you're in exactly the right place. Let's get into it.
A question I hear all the time is, why do native speakers talk so ridiculously fast? Well, prepare to have your mind blown a little bit because it's actually a massive auditory illusion. They aren't really speaking at some superhuman speed. Instead of pronouncing every single word cleanly and perfectly, they're taking physical shortcuts. They're blending words together into this one continuous flow.
And that brings us to our very first key concept for today, connected speech. Basically, this is when we look at spoken language not as individual, separate words, but as one continuous blending sequence, where the words actually affect each other. Now, mastering this concept, it's absolutely the secret to true fluency. Fluency isn't just about knowing lots of vocabulary. It's the ability to speak easily and smoothly. And you get there by understanding how sounds physically morph in real life. To put that into perspective, let's look at dictionary English versus spoken English. Dictionary English is what you read on a page, right? It's stiff and every word is perfectly separated. But spoken English, it is highly efficient. Our mouths literally take shortcuts. So let's break down exactly how these physical shortcuts happen out in the real world.
The first core mechanic we need to talk about is assimilation. This happens when one sound physically changes to become more like the sound right next to it. It just kind of matches its neighbor.
Okay, take the phrase green parka. Because your mouth is already getting ready to make the P sound in parka, the N in green actually physically turns into an M, so it becomes green parka. Crazy, right? It's not sloppy pronunciation at all. The sound literally changes just to make it physically easier for your jaw and tongue to do their job.
Right, so next up, we have a concept called elision. And this is simply the complete dropping or omitting of sounds or syllables to avoid really awkward clashing consonants.
So think about a phrase like, I can't speak Italian. In natural speech, that T sound vanishes entirely. Why? Because it's just too difficult to pronounce naturally, right there between the N and the S. So a native speaker naturally drops it and effortlessly says, I can speak Italian. Then there's something called catenation. This is when you link a consonant sound at the very end of one word directly to a vowel sound starting the next word.
Notice how a native speaker just carries that D from the word good right over onto the I in in. It creates this completely blurred boundary, sounding like goodin. He looked good in it. The words are literally chained together like links in a fence.
But hey, what happens when two vowels crash into each other? Well, that's where we use linking. We basically create this invisible bridge connecting the two vowel sounds smoothly, usually by sneaking in a tiny semivowel.
So instead of an awkward, robotic pause, a phrase like go on naturally gets a little hidden W sound inserted. It becomes go on. And I agree gets a tiny Y sound, turning into I agree. Doing this just maintains a really continuous, fluid rhythm. Now, one of the main reasons words seem to vanish entirely is because of reduction. This is the weakening of unstressed vowel sounds, usually changing them into a really lazy neutral schwa sound.
And this constant reduction is exactly what powers contractions. We shrink written or spoken words down into much shorter versions simply because they aren't the main focus of the sentence.
Just look at how this totally standard textbook sentence, do you want to dance, shrinks down in the real world. The auxiliary verbs completely lose their stress, reducing it into do you want to dance? The stressed words keep the rhythm going, but those little grammar words, they just get completely swallowed up.
So, how on earth does your brain process all these rapid changes? Well, it does it through chunking. Chunking is just grouping individual words into larger, single, memorable units of language.
Recognizing these lexical chunks is honestly a massive shortcut for your brain. It totally eases your mental processing load, saves memory, and really speeds up your real-time listening. Why? Because you aren't stuck translating word by word anymore. You just recognize the entire sound unit instantly.
And of course, this brings us right to comprehension, your actual ability to understand and decode all of this spoken language in real time.
So, where's the best training ground for this? Conversational English. This is the relaxed, informal language native speakers use every single day, the stuff you actually hear out in the wild.
Actually, there's a fascinating study out of Narrasuin University that backs this up completely. They found that 91.5% of English majors preferred watching movies with English subtitles, specifically to decode natural accents and absorb all this connected speech we're talking about.
Subtitles are incredibly powerful because they train your ear to align that physical text with intonation. Intonation is that natural rise and fall of the voice when speaking. It's what gives a language its unique rhythm and emotion. All right, so here is your practical game plan for training at home. First, keep those English subtitles on. Second, expect sounds to be missing. Don't let it throw you off. Third, actively listen for those larger chunks instead of single words. And finally, shadow the actors. Literally pause the movie and mimic their exact pronunciation out loud. If you take one thing away from this explainer, let it be this. Dictionary English is great, but it limits you. Recognizing the mechanics of connected speech, that is what truly unlocks the real world of spoken English. Which kind of leaves us with a fascinating question to ponder. Is dictionary English basically a foreign language compared to the one native speakers actually use every day? I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments below. And hey, share a connected speech example you've noticed in a movie recently. If this explainer helped you out, leave a like, share it with a friend, and be sure to subscribe to The English Effect. Keep an ear out for those invisible links, and I'll catch you next time.